Hi, this is Jeremy Wolf with the National Weather Service in Spokane. I am the Climate Program Manager, and I'm going to go through the Summer 2020 Weather Outlook with some updated information that was just released today. Alright, so I thought I would start with the current conditions of what we've seen since the fall before going into the summer forecast. And this is a graphic showing the percent of normal precipitation since the water year, which begins in October. So this is October through May. And you can see across central Washington, it's been quite dry. A lot of locations have only had about half of their normal precipitation, whereas across eastern Washington and North Idaho, as well as near the Cascade Crest, conditions have been quite a bit wetter with normal to above normal precipitation. But that doesn't tell the whole story. We've gone through some cycles of wetter and drier periods, and there was one very notable dry period, February through April. And in fact, some places in central Washington for the month of April had only 1 day of precipitation for the entire month of April. So it was quite dry. You can see this brown shading here is showing the lowest 10% in terms of dryness. So it's quite dry during that February through April period. But the pattern changed quite a bit as we went into the month of May. You can see over eastern Washington especially, we had several rounds of showers and thunderstorms move through, with some places getting double their normal precipitation for the month of May. So that did help conditions quite a bit, which was good news since we had such a dry April and things were starting to dry out even across eastern Washington. But you can see central Washington, still some locations missed out on a lot of those significant rains. And the latest soil moisture ranking percentile, this was as of June 9th, was showing below normal soil moisture across much of central Washington. And the latest drought update, just released today on June 11th, was showing D1 to D2 drought status, which is moderate to severe, across parts of central Washington. You can see a lot of Oregon and California and Nevada is designated in drought as well. Now, if we take a closer look at Washington, the driest conditions are centered from the Okanagan Valley down through the Waterville Plateau, the Wenatchee area, and then southward across portions of Grant County. Now, the drought outlook for the month of June, given the recent wet weather, we aren't expecting any drought expansion across eastern Washington, but drought conditions are forecast to persist across central Washington. All right, so that's the latest information on drought. I want to shift gears now to ENSO. And what we're looking at here are bar charts with the forecast for neutral conditions, El Nino and La Nina conditions. Now, ENSO tends to be more of a factor in our fall and winter seasons, not as much our summer. So this is really more just information for those interested as we move into fall and winter, and just kind of the latest update on the ENSO. And you can see neutral conditions, which means neither La Nina or El Nino, is the most favored category as we go through the summer season. But then as we go into the fall and winter months, there's about an equal probability of either neutral or La Nina conditions. We've seen a recent shift towards some cooling waters in the central and eastern equatorial Pacific, which is slightly increasing those odds of La Nina conditions. But at this point, it's just as favored as neutral. So just something we'll keep an eye on as we approach the fall season. And here's a map that shows individual model forecasts of El Nino, La Nina, and neutral, and anything above 0.5 would be considered El Nino. Anything below minus 0.5 would be considered La Nina, and anything in between neutral. and you can see the majority of these forecasts are in the neutral category, but there has been a recent shift towards more models showing the potential for La Nina conditions as we go into the fall and winter months. All right, so here are the latest outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center. And for the month of June for temperatures, you can see equal chances is forecast, meaning there's no clear indication whether it's going to be a cooler than normal June or a normal June or warmer than normal June. Now you may be asking yourself, well, gee, it's been so cool for the first 10 days of June, but there are some indications that the pattern may shift towards the end of the month, which I'll show later. So this is probably not too bad of a forecast, and also keep in mind this was made about 10 days ago on May 31st. And for precipitation, the odds are elevated for wetter than normal conditions, which makes sense given the pattern that we've been in lately, and it looks like that is going to continue as we go into next week of a fairly wet weather pattern. So the changes that I was alluding to, this is a prediction from a set of individual forecasts for a model. So it's several forecasts that go into this one model, which often proves to have better verification in the long run than looking at just one model run. And it is showing as we go into next week, this is the June 13th through 18th period, still showing the continuation of cooler than normal temperatures across our region. But first day of summer is June 20th, and this is a forecast for the June 21st through 26th period, and you see a dramatic change with the forecast there towards warmer than normal conditions. So again, this is still about 10 days out from right now, 10 to 15 days out. So this exact forecast will probably change between now and then. But there is some indication that we'll be moving into a more summer-like weather pattern before the month of June is all said and done. And that segues into the summer outlook. This is for July, August, and September, which shows elevated chances for warmer than normal temperatures for our region. And then as far as precipitation goes, the odds are slightly elevated that we'll have drier than normal conditions. Now keep in mind, July, August, and September are our driest months climatologically, so even if we end up having normal or above normal precipitation, it probably wouldn't be that much. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's look at the national fire outlooks. This is these maps are produced by the National Interagency Fire Center in Boise, Idaho. And these get updated on the 1st of every month, so the next issuance you can see here will be on July 1st. And for the month of June, the forecast was for normal fire potential for our area, which normal for the month of June, we don't tend to get a lot of big fires. Sometimes we can get some significant grass fires in June if we see some hot, dry, windy conditions develop. But for the most part, our fire season doesn't really get going until the months of July and August. And as we move into July and August with that prediction of pretty good chances for warmer than normal temperatures and the drier than normal precipitation, that would dry out our soils and would increase the risk of significant fire potential for the month of July. As we go into August and September, the predictions are for above normal fire potential. Now the key word here is potential. It does not guarantee that we're going to have above normal fire season. The amount of lightning we get often has a big role as far as number of fire starts, and predicting that type of detail months out can be often very challenging. And also the number of significant weather events such as dry cold fronts bringing the dry and windy conditions, another key factor often that will affect the fire potential. All right, so in summary, drought conditions are expected to continue in central Washington. We're looking at a transition to warmer and more typical summer-like weather later this month. And the long-range outlooks are favoring elevated chances for hotter and drier than normal conditions, which would increase our fire potential to above normal for this fire season. So that concludes the summer outlook. Thanks for listening.